social videos. All right, we're now live. Hey
All
everyone, this is
right.
Sean Fuller with another day of another Behind the Comics. Tonight we have Neve with us. Today he's going to tell us about himself, his background. We're going to learn a lot about his new project that he's coming up with, and hopefully by the end of that we go to love him and we start following him. All right. With that said, let me turn over to my first question. Can you get a start by telling us about yourself and your creative background? Let me know what you're about.
Yeah. So my official actual name is Niahma Foggie Brown, but my artistry name I go by Niahma the Raw Talent. I've been an artist as long as I can remember in various ways, from doodling and sketching to now refined craft to I'm a fully customization artist while I'm doing sneakers, bags, jackets, various canvases, wearable canvases, and accessories. And I've been working with my brother Sean here on a new venture, on a graphic novel, which I hope branches eventually down the line into an anime. I'm really excited about
We'll get
that.
there. We'll get there. Don't
Yeah.
worry about it.
Art in various ways is my passion. I've also launched a clothing line called Careless Wonder, which I can talk about in a little bit as well. So whether I'm creating art, painting something, creating something digitally for my clothing brand, I'm just all around, just various niches on creating my stuff and being an artist.
So let me ask a question. Back into talking about your background a little bit. So what's first sparked your interest in comic and visual storytelling? Because I've seen your stuff. There's a lot of visual. So what kind of sparked your interest back then?
Honestly, I've always loved comics. I discovered comics at a very young age. My older brother first had a couple he got from a friend of his, and he brought those home, and I was like, "Oh man, these are cool," as superheroes and everything like that. So because I was so excited about it, my mom eventually started getting me a couple comics, and honestly, it's great to watch stuff from cartoons, but I actually did enjoy looking at the comics, reading the story, looking at the pictures over and over again. So really just the same way I developed a love for art as a young age, I developed a love for comics, just how a still picture can say so much. There's so much to take away from how they're attacking each other, how they're using their powers, what's happening in the scene. It's nothing being animated or in motion, but it's drawn so well that it's like just captivating and you really
Mm-hmm.
understand the story in that one page or the scene, I mean.
As a person who do story arts as well, there's so much being captured in a moment in a comment. Sometimes it's just dialing in that little moment is so it's entertaining to just just the process.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when it comes off properly, is great. And then when you see it in different formats, it's even better because then you get to address certain issues you might have in one format. Because in one format, for example, visual, you can only everything has to be one two dimensional, but you might have a different way of saying something in that scene, which would be better said in an audiobook versus a comic book or live action. There's so many different ways
Yeah.
to tell the same section, and I just love it for that purpose. The art form for that purpose. But we still on our backgrounds here, so we ain't even getting into that fun stuff. So where are you from? And how was your upbringing influence your community influence your storytelling? Like, so where are you from? I know you're DC, but I know
Yeah.
you need to say it.
Born and raised in Washington, D.C. It's funny, I was just speaking with another fellow artist who said, we're a rare breed. It's very rare at this point to really interact with someone who's born in DC and stayed in DC. But yeah, born and raised, this is my native town. I lived in various parts of it. Um, Storytelling expression really ties together with my love and development for art. Growing up, I was always exposed and surrounded by art.
Mhm.
Both my parents are artists. They've always had artwork around me. I've always seen them creating something, and my brother and I, we really hung out a lot as kids. We're 4 years apart, but when we were like really young, those 4 years didn't really make a difference until we got older. So we were
College.
always yeah, college and high school is when it's really started making a big difference. when we're in elementary school, it was almost like we were years apart, maybe a year apart. I
Mm.
mean, so we would like hang out in his bedroom and draw stuff together, draw characters together. I remember we started developing our own stories of like different superheroes, and we would cut them out. We figured out this method that if we draw this character, cut him out, and he used to be super. Shout out to my big brother. He used to be super, super talented, drawing way more than I ever was as a kid.
It's
But
actually
because
funny. It's actually funny because I was gonna ask you, have you always wanted to create comics, or did your journey start somewhere else? And it sounds like this was a family thing that it started
yeah,
off with.
yeah, because honestly, my brother and one of my sisters, Kenyatta, was always super talented in artwork. I myself was like just a really great stick figure or basic idea drawer. And I always looked up to them in their talented ways. He focuses on music now, but back then he was really good, especially at fine details. And he never needed to reference because, mind you, this is back in the 90s. You couldn't Google any images to reference anything. So a lot of the
Mm,
stuff he drew off of memory from TV. So we figured out this method. We can draw characters, cut them out, and then pretty much douse them in glue to harden them. And we would kind of
right.
make those like cut out figure action figures. And we started figuring out how to like take a piece of paper, kind of write a background and have a character. I remember I had a couple pages glued together and I turned that into a comic book. So, while I had my love for like drawing that eventually sprouted into like painting and stuff, there was always in the back of my mind a love for like comics and eventually graphic novels. Because as I got older and I started working when I was in high school, I started treating myself like a graphic novel every paycheck and like go like the old bookstore like Barnes and Nobles or Books a Million.
Okay. Oh, okay. So I'm feeling that. So now, so let's talk about a little stuff like outside of comics. Do you do any kind of creative work, or other creative work in the industry?
In the comic industry, not
No,
necessarily. I
no, no,
have.
not just comics. I said outside of comics. So I know you do
Oh yeah.
your shirt. I know you do
Mhm.
your shoes.
Yeah, so primarily, the shirts, of course, is my newest brainchild called Careless Wonder. This is one of the shirts I have on now. So you see, it's a sign that says normal, but because we don't do normal, we've come and we spray painted over it. We've slash paint across it to pretty much say we don't do normal. I have my logo, my smiley here. I don't know if it's in reverse, but
No, no,
yeah.
you're right. It's funny. I used to be like, somebody used to, I remember one of my exes asked me, "Can you be normal?" I'm like, "Normal is overrated. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about."
It's very overrated. It's very boring. And that's why I started this brand. The idea and passion behind Careless Wonder comes from myself as a child, wanting and desiring acceptance, and eventually becoming a man I am now who loves the fact that I do stick out. I am unique. And that's what makes it fun. So the namesake Careless Wonder comes from not caring or not worrying about how you are when you express yourself, how you dress, what music you like, what art you like, any hobbies you're into, not conforming to any trends or worrying about how the masses will accept you. And because you're a like way, it's an amazing feeling. It's an amazing experience. Live your life as a careless wonder, meaning enjoy the fulfilling life and love that you have for yourself, being different, sticking out like a sore thumb, not worrying about if people are going to accept you, not worrying about if people judge you. Walk down the halls and be an outcast if you want to. You can't live your life wanting to be, approved by other people because you're always going to seek approval. So it's in my link in bio. If you go to Niahma underscore the underscore raw underscore
We'll get
talent
to
on
it. Don't worry.
Instagram.
Don't worry. We'll get
It's in my
to it.
link in bio. That's my newest brainchild. But outside of that, I'm always painting something.
Mhm.
My favorite two methods are hand painting with acrylic or spray painting.
Okay.
I've done various items. I actually have a guy who's commissioned me to do his drum cover. So I'm doing,
Drum cover.
primarily I've done shoes. I feel like that's my biggest thing is I've done sneakers, done various sneakers, canvas sneakers, leather sneakers, jackets, jeans, bags. I've done large vases and decor pieces. Pretty much as long as I can figure out the material, I can pretty much paint anything I can get my hands on.
So who do you look up to creatively, either in the indie space or mainstream comic world? Like who you kind of look up to?
As far as like just comic book artists,
In terms of their creativity, and you saying, "Oh, I want to mimic that."
that's a good question. I mean, honestly, the inspiration comes from pretty much any graphic novel I've seen. I've seen a lot of Marvel and DC. Um, I know there was a brother, I forget his name, but he started a really black owned focused comic book line that was really cool. So it wasn't any individual artist, but I've seen a lot of graphic novels that were so captivating that I really looked up to and enjoyed reading that made
Hmm.
me want to do it.
All right, all right. So we get to the fun part now. So we're gonna switch up. Before we do that, let's just talk to our sponsors real quick. Give me a second. Um,
Gotcha.
so our sponsor today is gonna be one of my new projects called My Comic AI. Um, it's a SaaS product as a service powered by AI to help comic book creators make money from their comics. We are launching in August 4th, and we're looking forward to bringing on new partners. So if you know your artist that wants to make money with your comic, check us out and see what you got. Um, Ain't nothing to it but to do it, right? So with that
I
said,
love
we're
it.
going to switch back to our main group. We're going to talk about his comic, and we're going to talk about stuff. All right. So now here we go.
Hey.
I was seeing this. We haven't. So we started working on this. I want to say last year, right?
Yeah, yeah.
When I first got the opportunity to talk to me about it, and I was like, "Yo, this is sick. I want to see where this goes." And so I took it up on my responsibility to kind of help help you tell your story. So now this is me
Thank you.
also helping telling the story. Um, Tell us about the upcoming comic, Sons of Hodari, and what it's all about. Tell us about it.
So the Sons of Hodari is an epic story that has been a brainchild of mine since high school. It tells a tale of five brothers on an epic journey to find out what has happened to their father because he took a mission coming out of retirement as a soldier and a warrior, and they have not heard from him and his weeks has passed. So they don't know if they're going to get vengeance or they don't know if they're going to rescue him. But their father is named Hodari. Hodari is Swahili for mighty. He is revered as one of the mightiest warrior of all the four lands that make up their region, and he is known for defeating various enemies, helping people, saving people. And one of his biggest achievements was that he came up with five art forms, which are called the five arts, and they gave him the namesake, the father of the five arts. Because what makes these five arts so special is that they was inspired by five different cultures he experienced, one of which is his own, and he developed art forms to supersede those. And it's really hard to find a warrior that can rival him. So once he, defeated a tyrant that was trying to take over a region of the land, he was known for that. He saved the people, he liberated them, and then he retired on the island. He found love and they started a family. They gave birth to five sons, and he made it his duty to train his five sons in one of his five arts. From teaching his first art to his oldest son, then his fifth art to his last born, his youngest son. So they actually, being a young age and being teenagers and preteens, aren't that far from skill set and battling grown men because of how skilled they've been trained by their father. So they're going to be traveling across this land. It's kind of like a pre-technology world, kind of like Naruto, where their resources are basically living off the land, foraging water, and things like that. But they're coming across various villains because what has happened is the tyrant that Hodari defeated has bust out of prison. Not only did he bust out of prison, but he brought a wave of destruction with him that freed pretty much every
I'm
prisoner.
gonna cut you, cut you,
Oh,
cut you.
sorry.
You telling
I
the
don't know how
entire
far I was
story,
going to
man. You telling the story, man. Come on, man. We need to give them something to come see.
I didn't mean
All
to go
right.
that deep into it. I got excited.
I know, I know. I saw it. I was like, I'm gonna let you burn. I'm gonna make you. I want to talk. I'm gonna let you cook for a minute. I'll let you cook. All right. So, so everyone, I want you to know that this story is exciting. There's a lot of stuff in it. My man says from high school. I want you to
Yeah.
tell them how long that was. Okay, I don't think they realize how long
So I
this ring has been.
graduated high school in 2006. So
So we're
between
looking at almost
2004,
20 years.
almost 20 years, I've been thinking about this. So from
Are
like
we going? You
2004
know
to
what? You know what we're going to do?
2006.
We're gonna make sure the first episode drop before the 20th
Yeah,
anniversary.
before another 20 years. I think that'd be a good call. But yeah, so the story was always five brothers because I love the idea of five. That kind of comes from like Voltron or Ronin Wars, where it's five of them. They're standing
I was gonna
together.
ask you
It's
what's
epic.
inspired the story and the central team. So go ahead with that. What inspired
Yeah.
that?
So like Ronin Warriors was like one of my top tier anime back then. All the girls was watching Sailor Moon. Me and my big brother was watching Ronin Warriors. Uh, I remember I remember he gave me my favorite Ronin Warrior, Side the Torrent, the light blue one, as a Christmas gift. I was like,
Mm.
"Oh, big bro, you remembered?" When we was younger, and I was in junior high. But yeah, I have been thinking about this, so I wanted to always be Five Warrior because even with Ronin Warrior, there's also I feel like I'm the only one who's seen this movie outside of my family. Movie called Warriors of Virtue. It
Mm.
was about these kangaroos who knew martial arts, had weapons. Like no one knows about this movie, but I loved
Hey,
it as a
hey,
kid.
hey! You gonna make it famous, okay?
But yeah, I always loved that concept of five, Power Rangers, five standing together. So I always wanted it to be five brothers. I always wanted them to each have different personalities, different skill sets, and just working together, battling the enemies. So back then in high school, it was always five brothers. I was always playing around like what their hair would look like, what their abilities and powers would be, how they would dress, what's the plot of the story, who they would fight against. And honestly, a lot of this stuff I didn't start writing down or putting pen to paper until we started collabing and you needed me to give you info. Because a lot of this was literally just in here processing and turning like, oh, you know what? They should do this. Their abilities should do that. Instead of this, they should be fighting these guys. Or, when we was talking about how
Okay.
the stories would play out. So I remember I had a sketchbook where I drafted them out. I had like coloring pencils and drafted them out and drew how they looked. But honestly, a lot of it really was because I'm just so visual and abstract. I could see it in my head play out, which is how it went from these rough drawings in high school to this dope cover that your team made right here. And I'm just like really excited about how the story developed.
Hey! So here's the thing now. So here's the thing. So you have a powerful title that says Sons of Hodari. So what made you choose that
Okay.
name? Yeah. What made you choose that name?
So it was always going to be the sons or the brothers, because originally I was going to call them the brothers Umoja, meaning
Oh,
brothers of unity, unified brothers. Then I was going to call them the sons of
it's Swahili,
Baba
right?
and Bob. Huh?
It's Swahili, right? The
Yeah,
name.
Umoja,
Okay.
unity. But now I'm gonna be like the sons of Baba, because Baba is Swahili for father. But I was like, I was confused. Like, should I call him Baba? Because they'll call him Baba, but that mean the rest of the world calls him Baba. Why is the rest of the world calling him father? So I was like, he
You
needs
all
a
over
dope
the place,
name.
yo.
Yeah, so I was like, he needs a dope name that would kind of give him a background, like that he's strong and everything. So I just
Mhm.
kind of kept looking up Swahili meanings, and then I was like, you know what? He's mighty, and he's like one of the mightiest warriors. I'll look up a reason. I'll think of a reason why they named him that. But then I was like, what's Swahili for mighty? And then that's how I came into Hodari.
Okay. So here's the question then. Um so how would you describe the style or tone of the comic that we're looking to make, right? Because it's either action driven, character focused, or socially conscious, right? And I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out. Oh, actually, I'm not trying to figure it out, but you're trying to tell the group right now uh, where you kind of see the tonality, or where this kind of style of where you're trying to make the sons. Are you making the focus on the characters, or are you trying to make it more action driven towards scenes, or what's the word I'm looking for, between development of stuff? What you kind of think it is?
So definitely action driven. Action is like the reason I freaking love anime. but it's also going to tell the stories of each sons collectively and individually. They're still going to develop, they're going to unlock new abilities and, moves and everything, and really just hold their own, because even though they're going to save their father or find him, they're also coming of age of having their own
Mhm.
identity,
And I
which
see
is
that
what's
too.
part of development.
And I did see that too, because a lot of it is about the each individual character with their own individual moves and their abilities, and their abilities kind of dictates their journey in this process. So it's like
Right.
character part, but there's the action because each of them are, hey, this is action packed from day one, right?
Yeah.
And so I can't believe. Actually, let's actually we got five characters to pick from, man. Let's pick one of your favorite characters and give me a sneak
Okay.
peek in the world on what you build. What's that be like?
Oh. Let's see. Let's go with Chuma. Chuma is the young brother in the back right with the orange. That is the second born son. So he's younger than the
Talking
oldest
this guy
brother.
right here, man. We're talking this guy right here. Ha 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 ha. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that is Chuma. To my brightness up. 1 second. There we go. All right. So Chuma is in the orange. Chuma is a second born, and he was trained in the second art form, which is called the Iron Will. What the Iron Will is, it's a culmination of being able to harness your fighting spirit, your energy, your chi, and it radiates on top of your skin like armor. And by enforcing it with concentration and focus, you actually can make that chi strong as armor and hard as steel. So it shows in orange markings that glow across his hands and arms. And then if someone was to have a sword and swing it, he could block that sword. And depending on how strong the sword is, it could potentially break. So it's almost like he has unbreakable skin, because now his arms and hands are covered in this radiating chi that has been reinforced and dense as hard as steel and iron. So
So
not only
he's
that, but
literally the tank of the group.
right. He has a natural physique where he's strong. He loves working out. He'll grab large stones on the island, use those as weights to kind of bench press or curl. So he's naturally adept and strong. But now with this reinforcement ability with his chi, he's actually able to like pretty much shake the ground, bust through stone doors, all of that. Being the second born, he's like the lieutenant or right hand to his brother. There are times his brother has doubts about their journey, making sure he's leading everybody correctly. Sometimes his older brother butts heads with the third born. So Truman's in the middle, just remind his older brother, hey, you got this, you're leading us fine. I got you, I'm right there. So he's always right by his side, and they're always fist bumping, and he's reminding his older brother, don't worry, I may be strong, but you're the smartest and best of all of us.
All
So that's
right.
his right hand man.
So I know I've been saying it was almost 30 years now working on this project. That's so there's a lot of stuff we can touch on that. So what has been your biggest challenge so far when it comes to this working on this project? What has been the biggest challenge? So
Mentally, I did hit a couple of blocks about how I wanted certain parts of the stories to be told, how I wanted their abilities to play out, how what I would call them, plot points of like why this would happen or would that make sense, and it really just came through a lot of brainstorming. Sometimes I'll just kind of sit back and watch other anime, not to steal ideas, but to kind of just enjoy the anime, remember why I'm doing this. And it kind of just sparks something in my own head about what I can do with my own story. From that, I was really just playing around with different things, and I realized each of their abilities is kind of like an individual element or representation. And we can go into that. I know we don't want to spoil too much,
but
but
okay,
yeah.
no, it's fine. Um, so I'm going to kind of drill down on that a little bit before we move on. Because when I think about someone's challenges, right? Um,
Hmm.
a lot of it is like technical time. If we talk about it from a strictly practical form, it's either time restrictive or skill restrictive. Like I don't have the skill set to kind of do something, or financial restrictive. Like I don't have the money to do something. And like so, the reason why I'm asking this question because a lot of people who are going to listen might have similar journeys where they have an idea for like years because we're not talking about 5 months now, we're talking about 20 years, okay? For the sake of
Mhm.
argument. And so I want people to understand that it's okay that you have an idea, but you had to drop it because I was in school. So that was my challenge at that point. Or I was at the work, at kids or something. So so when I ask about the challenge, I want to know, and I don't need you to be personally specific now,
Yeah.
but I want you to have help people understand that it's okay because this was my challenge when I was starting this off when I started. Because normally, if it's someone that said they started off during COVID, that's a complete different
Mhm.
timeline. But you had this for years, so it's kind of like I want
Yeah,
people to feel like
yeah.
you have a different story than those guys.
Yeah, no, totally. So for me, it was really just how to make the visual or mental physical. Again, working jobs, you only have X amount of hours in a day, it's pretty much work, sleep, repeat, and drafting out panels and all of that was never really my skill set. So
Mhm.
it was just always something that was just far in the back of my head because for a long time I barely was into customizing stuff. So once I got into that, that was really the focus of what I wanted to do with my art. And this idea plus various other ideas I have, like graphic novels, animes, were never really in the forefront because I never really had the resources to really make this thing happen. So the real challenge was just not really knowing what direction or what to tap into to possibly make this physical, whether it was online or actual paperback. It was just one of those things where just really just a brainchild of a dream, but I never really expected it at times to really come into like blossom. So once I got into like my commission work, that was really just a focus, and this kind of fell back until we had that faithful reuniting at the we couldn't reconnected at the college.
So for everyone in the group, it's if I'm going to summarize it, it's literally a meeting of the minds. It's like you had it out there before. It's just that it wasn't a priority to get created because you didn't have the skill set to draw it, you didn't have the financial to pay someone to do it, or the ability to just put it down on paper and just
Right,
write it out as a
right,
script. And
right.
but because we had our interaction that we did, we kind of was able to take all those different pieces and kind of just focus you for a few good couple months because we focused for a good couple months and we got to the point where it's like, oh wait, this is what was in my head.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, so guys, sometimes it's just that you just need someone to push you, okay? And don't feel bad if that person, when that person show up, you're like, oh, you thought you had more time to prepare. No, God makes a time and place for everything.
Yeah,
And
it's the perfect recipe. Not just what you know, but who you know. You can
and,
have an
and
amazing idea, but you're going to need somebody to help you, whether it's not always just about like funding it or capital, but also kind of helping you navigate how to make this happen. Because I'm super abstract. So sometimes buckling down and like doing the steps that needs to actually make this plan happen. Sometimes I need help with that. So
Mhm.
it's not always just what you know, but it's also who you know. You always there's never too much networking. That's one of
and
my
so you
biggest advice.
Yeah. And so you spent 20 years for this. So it's easy for me to answer this question, but I'm going to ask it. Are you planning to make this a standalone, a mini series, or an ongoing series? What's your mindset thinking about it when you think about it?
Ongoing. Honestly, in my mind, I have 4 well planned out seasons for this that I
Mhm.
think will be a great story to tell and enjoy.
All right, readers, you heard that? We got four seasons, okay? That means when you start, you better not stop finish until we're done. Okay.
There it is.
Where can All right, so we can start right now by saying we are just in the pre-launch of this, so we kind of don't have anything for you guys. But definitely, as I said, we're going to make sure it happens before the anniversary of his graduating from college, from high school. Sorry. So, so you're definitely going to see it before 2026. Um, so anybody you want to shout out right now?
Um, Shout out to my family, always supportive, my wife, my sons. Shout out to my parents, my siblings, various close friends, just everyone who's always been in my corner as I try to navigate myself as an artist. Art has always been in my blood, and I could proudly say that even with this, even though I didn't actually draw anything that comes with it, the creative vision that is the direction of this being made comes from my mind. So I'm just, ecstatic. Shout out to Sean. Me and him know each other back from UDC.
Yeah.
We vibed and chopped it up many a days. We met up when I did some shoes for him, and we started chopping up about this. So he's always been a great brother and a great guy. I've always been happy to know. So shout out to Sean as well. And yeah, like I'm
I'll take
excited.
it. Uh, so what's your so we're going to wrap up right now. So obviously I'm gonna ask a few questions. What's the other projects you have going on? I know you have the shirt. I know you do the
Mhm.
shoes. So what other projects you got working on creatively right now?
Yeah, so I'm always going to be working on something commission based where I'm hand painting or spray painting something. So follow me on Instagram for that. Again,
Yeah, I was gonna
Niahma
ask you, where can
underscore.
they find you? Where can they find? Why didn't you even put that in your tag, man? You should have made these people find
Oh, I didn't know that was an option. I didn't see
it.
that. um, so it's basically my username on this Niahma Raw Talent, but it's an underscore between each one. So Niahma underscore the underscore raw underscore talent. That's on Instagram. I'm also on
I think I
TikTok, all
included
one
it on
word.
this. I think I included it. So don't worry, I got you covered. I
Yeah.
made
But
sure to
has,
find.
my link in bio has all of my content, my YouTube, various interviews, my clothing line, Careless Wonder. So always look out for that. You can always DM me for any commission based questions. And yeah, so other than Sons of Hodari, I have a couple things. I have working with people, doing partnership projects with down the pipeline. I'm going to be at another art show that I love called Pancakes and Booze coming this September. I'll definitely be promoting that.
Pancake and boobs. Huh.
Yeah, it's a
All
great
right.
art show. I think this is like my fifth time doing it. It's like a great community of artists coming together. It's always love from people, artists when you go there. They have it at the Hook Hall, which is up on Georgia Avenue. But I'll be prone. I'm going to be a part of that. And just like it says, it's free pancakes. It's a long line, but the pancakes are really yummy. They have a really good bar with great drinks, and you just really walk around and there's great people hanging their artwork and vending. And I always get love. It's like a great community of people that are fellow artists or just consumers or audience. And yeah, I'm going to be doing that again in September. So I'll be promoting that as well. So.
So what good advice? Last question. So what advice would you give under inspired creative comic book art creators just getting started up?
Keep going. Don't give up. Love your idea and it's going to blossom. You're going to hit mental blocks, you're going to hit roadblocks, you're going to hear from people that don't appreciate what you're doing. Despite all of that, keep putting into it, keep pouring, don't stop. Whether you have to write it down, whether you just think about it in your head like I did, don't stop pouring into what you're doing, because what this is now versus what it was in like 2005, completely different from each other. And that was nothing from me just keep going. The gears were always turning in my head about it. I just didn't know how to make it something that actually was able to be put out into the public.
All
But
right.
take that idea and grow it, water it like a plant, just keep going with it and you'll be surprised of how it develops. Stan Lee did not create Iron Man overnight. That was not an easy idea to accomplish. Batman wasn't created overnight. These are ideas that had to blossom and had to grow. So just keep pouring into what you're doing and what you're thinking about. And if at any point you think it's a bad idea, it might be a good one. And don't seek approval from others. It's great to get feedback, but you got to love what you're making first. If you're the first one to love what you're making, that's when it's a great idea.
All right, gentlemen. I can't even top that because at the end of the day, it's all about getting to it and doing it. It's or Nike, what Nike says, just do it. And from my perspective, is like the more you just work at it, the fast you surprised of far you can get. And I understand resources are hard. Sometimes people can't draw, some people can draw. I know for a fact that I started out being able to draw, but my drawing skills is nowhere near competent as it is today compared to my man here. And so But it all comes down to just being able to say, at least I know to write down the outline of what I'm thinking in my head and how each of those things play out. And from that perspective, everything builds from there. I want to thank you for coming out with me, man. I really look forward to working with you on this project. As you know, we've been grinding slowly but surely. Um,
What's up,
and
another meeting? I'm excited to chop it up in our next
yeah, man.
meeting.
Last time we talked to the writer's just looking for a time to start, and as everything else goes, it's just nothing to it but to do it. All right, guys, thank you very much. We appreciate the love and support, and until next time, see you for another Behind the Comics with Sean Fuller.